All right, so so the oven's been heating. I recommend also for the home pizza chefs, if you're using a baking stone, and use an adequately thick one because you really want to sink a bunch of heat in there. Start your oven about an hour before you're going to bake to really get it up to temp. And I know there was some uproar about this. This was suggested by somebody else on some video. And what I like is the stones are going to act like capacitors. They're going to keep your oven hot. So once you've invested that initial time, the oven's not going to work as hard, and ultimately your pizza crusts are going to bake a lot better. So you're asking me about temperature. Familiar with the infrared thermometer with the laser? So this little gizmo is typically used by engineers and auto racing mechanics. But what it does is this little laser beam tells you that my chest is 101.1 degrees Fahrenheit. Or for you Canadians, 38.4 degrees Celsius. Let's see what I got on my stones right now. Wow. So I'm up at 575 right now down there. Pretty great, yeah.
You want it that hot?
Yeah, I mean, what I recommend for baking at home is go as hot as your oven will go on bake, whatever you can get it to. I'm not advocating any hacking of the oven, wrapping the thermostat in foil, cutting the latch from the cleaning cycle. Because you're going to see, without hacking, you can do some pretty great stuff. All right, so I have my doughs pre-prepared. We made these yesterday, and so I was talking a lot about ingredients, and obviously I'm very opinionated about the ingredients I use, and I truly do believe better ingredients, you're going to get better results. But technique, definitely very important. In fact, it's interesting because we do a class. We have a combination of people who've been making pizza for a while, and they want to take it to the next level. We have people who've never touched flour in their life. We all get together. We make dough together. And then we could all 12 of us make margarita pizzas, and every single one is different because everyone puts their, individual fingerprint on the pie. And your favorite pizza place is better, Tuesdays and Thursdays because that's when Luigi is there, and he knows how to really handle the dough. So just like many other foods, biscuits, pie crusts, matzo balls, like how you handle this is directly going to affect the quality of your crust. So I'm starting with a shake of more of this all-purpose flour on here. And then remove one of my doughs. Now, a circle. Pizzas are typically regarded as circular objects, but I like to tell my students that an amoebic-shaped pizza tastes better than a circle that they overwork to get it symmetrical. So don't freak if your attempts start yielding pizzas the shape of Alaska or something like that. It's okay.
And that dough is
cold.
the same thing that Jim just made?
Similar components, same kind of yeast, flour, salt, oil, a little bit of oil, no sugar, no nothing else. And then, all right, so flour up, flour down. So once again, the handling of the dough. I'm gently coaxing this into a bigger circle. Pressing all the way to the edge. That puffy edge will occur in the oven if I don't beat up my dough too much.
What about those guys who twirl the pizza dough? Is that just showbiz?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I was the kid looking in the pizzeria window going, I don't want to be a veterinarian anymore, but, I have friends who compete in the Pizza Olympics, and the stuff they do is amazing. I mean, they'll flip the pizza dough, it'll roll behind their head, they'll catch it on the other side. But if they're going to make me a pie, I'm like, do it on the table. Because hand-hewn, you get the soul in the crust, whereas a pizza made with centrifugal force is very, like, across the way. So, but if anyone wants to learn a little throw-in after the class, I'll show you guys. I keep a silicone practice dough at our classroom, so people can try it without trashing one of their crusts. So there's no 5-second rule in my place. There's a 10-second. No, I'm kidding. All right, so getting this big enough now, filling that dough. I want it to really just kind of glide along the surface here. There's a little technique I learned a couple years ago. This really took my crust to the next level. I call this the DJ because it's kind of like. So spinning that dough around, picking it up, letting gravity do some work. There's your fingers in it. See the apron is very important at this point. I'm going to stretch this guy to about 12 inches because that's all.
What happens if you put a hole in it?
Like that?
Yeah.
Actually, I brought with me an edible duct tape. It's made out of sticky provolone cheese, and it's a wonderful product. So, all right, sorry, I'm making a mess here. Okay, so here's the peel. I'm going to launch this guy. So for a release, my release of choice is semolina flour, durum wheat. That's what I make my fresh pastas with. And what this is going to do is it's going to do two things. It's going to provide ball bearings on my peel. So when it's time to launch this pizza off of the peel and into the oven, it's going to glide along those little ball bearings. And what I like about it, like better, pizzerias a lot of times will use cornmeal. Anyone been to New Haven for pizza? Okay, Sally's, Pepe's, or both. I'm both. White clam at Pepe's, red sauce at Sally's. And you got to time it just right to get to both places. And don't go on Monday or Tuesday, because Sally's is not open. Oh, wait, sorry. So the real way I fix the hole is a little like that, and then voila. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, cornmeal is often used, and the problem I have with cornmeal is that what it does is it gives you that glide, but it gives you a lot of grit, and that grit will begin to accumulate in your oven, and it's going to burn, and it's going to leave this burnt grit on the underside of your pie. I think the reason why they make it work in New Haven is they've got, they sweep all that grit into the fire between each pizza. That is not an option. And the semolina, too, produces a nice kind of, crunch on the bottom of the pizza. A little bit remains when it slides in there, and also adds a nice bit of a kind of a nutty taste as well. It gets a nice little toasted bit going on. So this is my fresh mozzarella from a place called Leva Dairy, which is not too far from here. It's on the corner of Mulberry and Grand, and they've been making mozzarella since 1892. But if I'm doing a pizza and I don't have my mom and pop shop mozzarella around, what I would recommend doing is going with just a good whole milk mozzarella. Low moisture, not a part skim, a whole milk. It'll melt great for you. And wait till you see how much cheese I don't put on the pizza. So this is often a pizza epiphany for people in our classes. They come in and they say, I've been making pizzas for a number of years, but one of the problems is they never cook right. They're soggy, they're gummy. What am I doing wrong? And it's at this point in the demo when I'm showing the initial dressing of, the classic margarita pizza that they go, wait, aren't you going to put more cheese on there? And it's like, So over topping the pizza, what happens is it doesn't bake. It just kind of sweats underneath all of those ingredients. Now, how did I figure this out? One morning, I was hungry. I had dough. I had a little bit of mozzarella, like way less than what I normally would use on a pizza, and I had a little bit of sauce. But I made the pizza anyway, and it was the best pizza I ever made. And it was like, aha moment. So I like to say less is more. Great ingredients, used in proper proportion. Also, you notice I put the cheese on first. There's a method to my madness.
Yeah. Most people put the sauce on and then the cheese on top.
Well, I want to preserve the creaminess of the cheese there, so underneath the sauce, it's going to allow it to melt, whereas if this was on top, you would just kind of have, caramelized islands of mozzarella on here. Your New York slice place, what they're doing is the sauce first, and then it's like a blanket of that shredded cheese, and you get that sort of a skin on there, and that has its charms as well. But with this, I want to just preserve the creaminess, and then the application of the sauce too is a lot more spare than you might think. This is also 6 years of art school, justified. Name my favorite action painter. So dotting on the cheese, protecting it here and there, not totally like covering this, suffocating it with the sauce. And when I've weighed this out on my typical 12 to 14 inch pie, it's about 3 ounces of cheese max and about maybe 3 to 4 ounces of sauce. And then last, pecorino. So you guys know pecorino romano. Pecorino actually in Italian simply means sheep's milk cheese. The word for sheep in Italian is pecora. But, you know, often we associate pecorino as like the salty stuff you shake on your pasta, you grate on your salad. And in this case, this is a Romano, actually from Italy. And what I'm using this for is this is less of like a nibbling cheese and more of a garnishing cheese. It's going to give me this nice richness in the center of my pizza. And I like to take it all the way to the edge. So when it's party cleanup time, the bones, you know, the pile of crust that nobody wants to eat, the ends usually disappear when they have nice toasty caramelized pecorino on there. Okay. Let's see if I can do this side-armed. So check we're not stuck on the peel. We're good. Get this guy in. Okay.
And how long does that take to cook?
Oh,
Don't applaud until you taste it.
yeah, right. Until it's done. Yeah, I mean, kneading dough, I have found, whether I'm doing it mechanically, you know, with my mixer or by hand, there is something to be said for experience because, you know, you know when you're at the point where you want to kind of slow it down. Same with the pizzas. You start to develop this, like, spidey sense where, you know, little tingle in the back of your head, and it's like, oh, I got to check my pizza. And you can kind of smell it, too. It's like a crazy thing. But this guy, I was timing it over the last week, and it's about 6.5 minutes. And I guess we're all looking at the pizza too much. Yeah, it's looking good. All right, so I'm getting some nice toast. You smelling it? And what I'm looking for is just a balance that, you know, the top and the bottom are nicely cooked here without drying it out or toughening it up too much. All right, so.
Wow, that's
Hey, look at that. See? Hello. So that's what they call the undercarriage, just to show you. I'm always, look, there's another less politically correct term for that. I won't talk. But, okay, basil. Also, so oil at the end, fresh herbs at the end too. Basil in the beginning, you run the risk of it drying out, burning, or just getting lost in the sauce and the cheese. And I want to preserve the herbaceousness of this. And, you know, just like when you make pesto, you don't cook the pesto. The pesto cooks on the noodles, you know, right out of the pot, nice and hot. And so for me, the basil is applied after the fact. And, you know, you'll never see chopped basil on an Italian pizza. It's either whole leaf, which to me is not democratic enough, or torn. And for me, I've got these nifty little snips. If you guys, who's been to DeForest? Anyone? Anyone? Oh yeah. So Dominic comes out with his giant scissors and the bunch of basil. So this is a nice way to give me some good ribbons of basil without totally beating it up. And then just kind of sprinkle that about. You're gonna circle in on that bubble there. This is normally when I get my phone out and text it to my friends. All right, so it's my oil. Pizza oil. Grit.
We're cutting it. Oh, it sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right, so guys, I'm gonna see who's gonna go for the bubble piece first.
And
Yeah, I want to make pizzas for everybody. I'm sorry. Yeah.
so we all got to go home and make some pizza now?
We want him to come home.
Tastes good, eh?
What do you think?
Very good. I can't believe you got it out of that little oven.
I know, crazy. Yeah. Well, you know, so paying attention to keeping the heat in the oven, all of these little things kind of together. But one thing, what do you guys think of the crust? I mean, really, is that the caliber of something you would think came out of a restaurant oven?
Yes.
And how's the amount of cheese on there?
It seems like a lot, but it's not too much.
But I mean, given that how much I did not put on there, it satisfies your cheese tooth. Yeah. And what about the distribution on there, like after melting?
Delicious.
Yeah?
You know what? I'm going to invite him up, just because. Where's our volunteer?
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Have it. And Mark, thank you so much. That was so
a pleasure.
fabulous.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Take a slice.